Ladies and gentlemen, we'll invite everyone to come into the sanctuary and sit at judicious intervals. Whatever that means. Okay. See, Debbie's on an aisle in case she decides to run. Not a chance. Good evening to everyone. And we'd like to get started, so if we can invite folks to find a seat. I'd like to welcome you all to the 120th or so installation of the Jacksonville Jewish Center. We're pleased that we have several past presidents who are with us this evening. David Bielski, who is our chair of the board, and Elise Nathans, who's in the back, and Fred Posen, who is in the front. I don't think Ben counts quite yet, but he will. We're also pleased that we have staff here, Jennifer Smith, our executive director, our retired executive director, Gil Kleiner, is here as well. Members of our clergy, Rabbi Rosenblum and Chazan Holzer. And other members of our staff, Tracy Hilbert, Danielle Burke, and Michelle Penson, our youth director. I think I got everyone. Oh, of course. Well, Andrew is his own employee, not an employee of the Jacksonville Jewish Center. Yes, he's shaking. But we thank you for dinner. We're very honored tonight to have the opportunity to celebrate and mark this moment of transition between one set of bylaws and a new set of bylaws, which we're very thankful to Fred and Elise for chairing our governance committee, part of the task forces that our Sulam strategic planning process, one of the committees included in that multi-year process. We're also very fortunate to be able to celebrate and acknowledge with gratitude the service of those whose term is now coming to an end, as well as to express our appreciation, our gratitude, our hopes, and prayers for success of those whose terms are about to begin. We begin this evening with a bit of a formality, calling upon Dave Bielski as outgoing chairman of the board to present our slate of candidates, presiding over the vote to approve officers and board members, and then following that to discharge our outgoing executive and general board members.
Thank you, Rabbi. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you to everyone who served on our board the last couple of years. You guys have done a phenomenal job. While our board and trustees are shrinking, we're having a little bit of a smaller group. Many of you will, and all of you hopefully will continue to be called on, and hopefully all of you will answer yes when we do, as you have so often. So for the board of directors, as we move forward into the 2021 to 2023 years ahead, the new chairman of the board would be Ben Setzer. Our president, which I'm very thrilled and excited to announce, Debbie Kay. Our president-elect, which is a new position for us, and hopefully we will continue to utilize this. We will, as part of our board. We'll always know who our next president will be Tyler Curl. Our Vice President of Religious Life, Stu Applebaum. Our VP of Finance, Alan Harrison. Our Secretary, Nancy Davis. Our VP of Day School and Preschool, Gabby Bubis. Our VP of Congregational Learning, Dan Jaffa. Our VP of Membership Engagement, Danielle Leader. Our VP of Community Engagement, Whitney Kuven. Our VP of House, Shari Schumann. And our past presidents who are, thank you again for continuing to serve and never leaving us, Fred Posen and Michael Dubo. Our VP at Larges will be Lori Dubo, Mel Gottlieb, Russell Sullivan, and Leonard Setzer. And our VP at Larges, we will, with a special assignment, with a real focus, Eric Rossholder will be our fundraising for both the synagogue and the school. And Kim Glaskell will be a focus of technology and communication. So with that, that is my announcement that they are joining. We're not voting on this, correct? We've already voted. So if there's any, all in favor? All opposed? Any abstain? Tracy Hobart, I remember that, wherever you are. Thank you. Moving forward, although there's a slight typo here, it'll be our trustees, which will be formerly known as our board of directors, and I'm going to read through the names of each of them. There will be some of the board of directors on this, which again would be our chairman of the board, Ben Setzer, VP of Finance, Alan Harrison, our president, Debbie Kay, our secretary, Nancy Davis, and our president-elect, Tyler Curl. Along with them, that'll be serving for the next 2 years would be Alan Andrew, Rachel Brodsky, Bruce Horowitz, Harvey Matorum, Vanessa Morris, Brent Traeger, Herschel Bettman, Lois Chepnick, Max Horowitz, Jeremy Milrod, Elise Nathans, Sarah Warner, you got me again, Larry Goldberg, Amy Levinson, Judy Mizrahi, Marsha Pollack, Shirley Bielski, Samantha Holtzman, Michael Lissner, Eliza Morris, and Judy Silverman. With that, I all in favor of this group of trustees? All opposed? Any abstain? Well, Allie abstained for me to be on. Thank you very much. The last thing I just want to leave with is we're excited about the growth and the reopening of our synagogue in time. It's wonderful to have everybody here, and I'm excited for more of us to join in over the weeks and months to come. And I would also like to welcome our newest member to be on Monday, hopefully, Samantha Holtzman. Congratulations on your new baby to come this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I'd like to invite our outgoing president, Ben Setzer, to share some thoughts and reflections of his term as president of the congregation and his hopes for the future. Ben?
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you all for being here tonight and anybody who else is watching online. I want to start off by saying how much of an honor and pleasure it has been for me to be the president of the Jacksonville Jewish Center these last 2 years. While there's certainly been some unexpected challenges, the support from the staff, clergy, board, and most importantly our members has been unbelievable. The way this congregation stepped up, not only financially, but emotionally for its fellow members over the last year is truly inspirational. One of the things that I have enjoyed most about being president was the opportunity to reach out to our members to learn more about them. Getting to know them on a more personal level was something that I will cherish. There are a couple people I would like to thank for their support these last 2 years. The board and executive board have been amazing to work with. If I had more time, I would individually praise each one of them who did such a fantastic job these last 2 years to help the synagogue. The board and executive board took their roles seriously, and they never wavered from their commitments, even with all the challenges they faced over the last year. I want to give a special thank you to Dave Bielski and Bruce Horowitz for their support during my term. There were many late-night conversations, with some challenging situations over the last 2 years. They were always available to help me navigate through those, which truly meant a lot to me. So thank you both, Dave and Bruce. I would like to thank the clergy who worked overtime to ensure there was always programming and services to keep the congregation connected. I thoroughly enjoyed working with Rabbi Lubliner, Rabbi Rosenblum, and Hazan Holzer. Their dedication to the congregation is unparalleled. We are so lucky to have such great clergy who care deeply for their members. They were fantastic to work with, and I truly consider them not just colleagues, but my friends. I also want to say thank you to our executive director, Jennifer Smith. We started as newbies and were thrown into the fire immediately. It seemed like just yesterday I was rushing over to the center, our first week on the job, to see the damage from a massive roof collapse in the preschool. It looked like a war zone out there. No power in the building, the fire alarms going off, and flooding water everywhere. I knew if we could handle this, everything else would be easy. Jennifer and her staff handled that emergency situation like pros, and she has been excelling ever since. During the pandemic, Jennifer and her staff were able to navigate the synagogue being mostly closed by overseeing streaming as well as Zoom, which made operating and connecting to our membership still possible. In addition, we were the only synagogue in town who opened the building back up for minyan, services, and school during the pandemic. We did it safely thanks to Jennifer and her staff, with no COVID cases from those events, which have been going on successfully for over a year. Jennifer and her staff also coordinated many events around town, as well as outside at the center, during the pandemic to keep members engaged and connected. Jennifer was also able to get a grant to upgrade the synagogue to the latest touchless safety features that have helped people feel more comfortable being back in the building. Thank you, Jennifer, to you and your staff for all your hard work. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I only see you getting better and better the longer you are here. Lastly, I just wanted to thank my family for their support these past 2 years. My beautiful wife, Melanie, she helped me with that part of my speech. My 2 incredible sons, George and Zachary, my wonderful parents, Leonard and Deborah, my fantastic brother, Michael, his lovely wife, Lauren, my 2 nephews, Jeremy and Nate, my sister, Faye, and her husband, Ari, my 2 nieces, Noah and Kobe, and my amazing in-laws, Frank and Daphne Woodard. They were so supportive and encouraging during these past 2 years, which required more demands on my time. I truly appreciate them being there for me. I would like to briefly, just for a few moments, touch on a few achievements we were able to accomplish during my term. We finalized our strategic plan and implemented many parts of it. This included outreach, meeting people where they were at, streaming, and Zoom. We finalized our new bylaws, thanks to Fred Posen and Elise Nathan's committee, to run things more efficiently moving forward. The new board and trustees will have defined roles, and they will be made up of every demographic in the community to talk about short-term as well as long-term sustainability issues. We stabilized our staff. We hired a new executive director during my term, a new head of school, a new religious school director, and a new youth director. We also made it through COVID successfully. We opened the synagogue safely. We exceeded our fundraising goals. Membership dues did not go too far down. We used Zoom streaming and other in-person events off-site to keep members engaged and connected. Lastly, we took care of major building issues, the roof collapse, repairing the preschool, major air conditioning repair issues, implementing more safety procedures, as well as upgrading the building to help combat COVID issues moving forward into the future. We are so lucky to have members like you who have stuck by us during the last year. There are many things we have learned over the last year that will help us moving forward. The main takeaway for me through all of this is there is no one way to connect with our members. Instead of focusing on one thing, it is imperative for us to use our members to guide us in the direction that works best for them. We plan to offer many things moving forward to connect in a way that is best for each individual member. Those include in-person events, both indoor and outdoor, streaming events, social events, off-site events, small group events, musical events, and much more. This last year really emphasized the fact that our time is precious and the need to interact with one another in a personal way is a critical component to our sustainability as a synagogue. We need to go back to what we do best, and that is providing happy Jewish memories to our members. Our membership has stayed strong, and now we are in rebuilding mode. This is a chance for us to really take that next step with our membership to become a much stronger congregation. This leads me to the person who I know will be able to accomplish these goals, the next president-elect, Debbie Kay. I'm thrilled and excited that Debbie is going to be the next president of the center. Anyone who has worked with or knows Debbie only has wonderful things to say about her. She is a great listener, a strategic thinker, and truly cares about every member of this synagogue. She has been involved with the center in various high-level roles for many years and has excelled in all of them. She has a great understanding of what is needed to be a sustainable congregation going into the future and will work tirelessly to get us to that. She is also a dear friend of mine, and I am so happy for her. I know Don, may his name be for a blessing, presence is here with us today, so proud of what you have accomplished. So as my last act as president, with my limo arriving any minute now, just kidding, I'll be here for the whole thing. I'd like to welcome our next president of the Jacksonville Jewish Center, Debbie Kay. Thank you.
Ben, don't go too far.
Okay.
The installation of a new board is more than a matter of parliamentary procedure. As an institution that celebrates the sacred values of Judaism, in a sanctuary, a place of holiness, it is important for us to ritualize this moment as we transition to a new leadership. I'd like to invite the next generation of leaders, George and Zach, to come up to the Bima to open the Ark. And I'll ask everyone to please rise. Pirkei Avot teaches, Moses received Torah from God at Sinai. He transmitted it to Joshua, Joshua to the elders to the prophets to the members of the Great Assembly. Each generation has embraced the privilege of holding Torah in its arms, lovingly carrying the weight of its responsibility forward into the future. As Moses brought Torah down from a mountain and into the midst of the people Israel, so too each generation of Jewish leaders has sought to bring Israel closer to God's word. Today, as we begin a new chapter in our congregation by forging the next link in the chain of leadership, we walk upon a path that is as ancient as our people, yet as new as this very moment in time. Ben, if you would kindly take the Torah on the right. And George, Zach, if you would close the Ark. And As Ben carries the Torah counterclockwise around the bima, Chazan Holzer will lead us in song.
Ki mitzion teitzei Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim.
If I could ask outgoing board and executive members to please remain standing. Everyone else may be seated. You'll see sheets that hopefully you have that are white with some yellow. These are the timeless words from Deuteronomy that God shared with Moshe and Moshe with the people. Lech emor lahem, shuv lachem leolechem, ve'ata po amodi madi v'adabra elecha, ein kol mitzvah, ve'achukim v'mishpatim asher telamdem, ve'asu v'aretz asher anochi, noten lahem lirishtah. ושמרתם לעשות כאשר ציווה אדוני אלוהיכם אתכם לא תסורו ימין ושמאל בכל הדרך אשר ציווה אדוני אלוהיכם אתכם תלכו למען תחיון וטוב לכם ברכתם ימים בארץ אשר תירשון. I'll invite outgoing board members and executive board members to join me as we read the top paragraph in English. Go, say to the people, return to your tents. But you remain here with me, and I will give you the whole teaching, the laws and the rules that you shall impart to the people, for them to observe in the land I have promised to them. Be careful to do as the Lord God has instructed, turning neither to the right or the left, but following only the path the Lord your God has enjoined upon you, so that you may thrive and that it may go well with you. As outgoing members of the board and the executive are discharged, you may be seated. I'd like to invite incoming board members and officers to now please rise. Rabbi Rosenblum will be reading from the Torah, from the first paragraph of the Shema, which looks forward to the future by reminding us that we must teach our children and to take Torah as we leave our homes morning and evening, when we go forth and when we return.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, v'lechtecha b'derech, u'v'shachbecha u'kumecha, Ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu tafot beinenecha, uchtabtam amazuzot beitecha u'visharecha.
We'll ask for members of the incoming board and executive, or I should say the incoming board of directors and incoming board of trustees, to read the words of the Shema in the English. You are now hereby installed. We'll ask everyone to please rise as the Torah is raised and tied. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 Anu Moshe. Torah. In a moment, we'll ask for Ben to take the Torah, and as he completes his term of office, to carry it once more around the lectern on the bima, and to replace it in the ark. This really is a two-man job. There we go. There, we got it. Whoop. Can't see up there. We're good, we're good. All right.
If we could record the live stream, he could watch back and see what I do every Shabbat. So.
That is true.
Shalom.
Then before you leave the bima, we offer these words, this ancient blessing that the Kohanim offer to the people. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yuchanecha. May the Lord be gracious and be favorable to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's countenance be lifted up to you, and may you rest in peace. You may be seated. I'd like to invite Debbie Kay to the bima. Debbie. At Israel's first installation of a new leader, Moses offered these words to his successor, Joshua. And though they were uttered thousands of years ago, their timeless echo is intended to speak to you as you take it upon yourself the sacred task to lead our congregation on its journey toward that land of promise. Moshe called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, "Be strong and resolute, for it is you who shall go with this people into the land that the Lord promised their ancestors to give them. And the Lord himself will go before you. God will be with you. The Eternal will neither fail you nor forsake you. Fear not, and do not be discouraged." We offer you the words of Birkat Kohanim as well, the words of the ancient priestly blessing, as you embark upon your journey. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you in the roads ahead. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. May God's light be shining upon you, and God always be gracious to you, even on days that are dark. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's countenance always be turned to you, and always give you the gift of peace and wholeness. Amen. I present the president of the Jacksonville Jewish Center, Debbie Kay.
Thank you, I think, Rabbi. Let me put on my glasses just in case. I didn't print them. My print isn't big enough. This morning at Minyan, Haas invited everyone to come tonight to hear my 45-minute acceptance speech. Sorry to disappoint you. You'll have to wait till Yom Kippur for that one. I do want to thank the nominating committee and Dave for chairing it, and the board for your confidence in my ability to serve as the president. It's truly an honor to have the opportunity to continue to support the Jacksonville Jewish Center as a lay leader. Great thanks to the outgoing board for your incredible work these past 2 challenging years. We are a stronger congregation because of your leadership, your flexibility, and your commitment. As we consider what lies ahead, I look forward to working with our incoming board members and our trustees, and with our clergy and staff, as we navigate our new governance structure to secure our present and to plan for our future. During my tenure, I promise to lead collaboratively, always keeping congregational families' best interests at the forefront. And now I'd like to ask Ben to join me. Ben, as my first official act as president, it gives me great pleasure to present to you a small token of our appreciation. Judaism commands us to welcome the stranger and care for the less fortunate. With this tenet in mind, it is my honor, on behalf of the Jacksonville Jewish Center Board of Directors, to present you with a picture of a beautiful tzedakah box. The inscription will read, Jacksonville Jewish Center thanks Ben Setzer for his dedicated service as synagogue president 2019 to 2021. A tzedakah box reminds us to give of ourselves to others, a practice that you have demonstrated throughout your life, and particularly these past 2 years as president. Ben, you have led us through tumultuous times with strength and also with kindness, working collaboratively with lay leaders, clergy, and staff, while also acting decisively whenever needed. Through all of these challenges, you understood the importance of maintaining strong, positive communication with our congregants. You've done a fantastic job, and you are a wonderful role model. Whoops, Kleenex, excuse me. Okay. As you transition to chairman of the board, it is comforting to know that you are only a text, a call, or an email away, and that you'll be there to offer good counsel and perspective. Melanie, I promise not to camp out on your doorstep. Okay, page 4, and the last page. Ben, we hope this small token of appreciation will be meaningful to you, and that it will become a family heirloom passed down from generation to generation, l'dor v'dor. Our grateful congregation applauds your service. You're welcome.
I look forward to getting it.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Debbie. Before you go, Ben, we do have one other small token of appreciation. I'm not sure what the opposite of installation, I guess it's discharge, but as we return Ben to civilian life, Melanie, we are graciously thankful for you lending Ben to us. And as such, we have a bouquet. I don't know if it makes up for 2 years of having to go to meetings, but it is a small token of our appreciation. And we return Ben to you pretty much in good shape. And please know that these flowers are just our way of saying thank you in a small, small way. Our installation ceremony will conclude with a song by Chazan.
So we started singing this a few years ago, a few installations ago. Ani va'ata nishaneh et ha'olam, that you and I have the potential to change the world, that it's not me, it's not you, but it's together. There's so much potential and gratitude for those who have served and those who have the potential to change the world each and every day. Ani ve'ata nishaneh et ha'olam, Ani ve'ata yavo far kulam, Amru et ze kodem lefanai, ze lo mishaneh. Ani ve'ata nishaneh et ha'olam, Ani ve'ata ninaseh mehatchala. Yeh lanu ra ein davar ze lo nora, Amru et ze kodem lefanai, זה לא משנה, אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
Mazel tov to all of our new leaders, Toda rabah to all of those who have been discharged. And now our ritual of installation comes to a close, but we will continue with Arc Tank.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to keep my remarks brief because we have a tight schedule and we all want to go home sometime tonight. My name is Gabby Bubis, and I have volunteered at the center in different ways over the years. My most recent role is VP of Education, or excuse me, that was the old role, VP of Schools, and I've been doing that for about 20 minutes now. I am also a graduate of the second JJC Futures class. I was honored to be asked to participate, and of all the sessions I attended that year, my favorite thing was being part of Arc Tank. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, it's a program loosely modeled on the TV show Shark Tank. On that show, contestants pitch a product that they'd like to create, and the judges decide which ones to fund. Tonight, the judges are the current members of the JJC Futures class. Four funds or projects will be presented to you, and you will be given $100 from the JJC Futures Endowment Fund to direct to the fund of your choice. If you look at your allocation sheet, you will see that if you also choose to contribute your own money tonight, there is a 4-to-1 match on the first $100 donated and a 1-to-1 match on any amount above that from a generous donor. If anyone else in the audience would like to participate, there is a smaller match, and there are allocation sheets and pens floating around. Now that I've explained what Arc Tank is, I'd like to introduce Marilyn Mass to tell us a little bit about what JJC Futures is and its purpose.
Thank you, Gabby, for asking me to say a few words about JJC Futures. We can't think about the future without thinking of 3 important people in the past who made JJC Futures possible: Tricia Bettman, Don Cripps, and Mike Mass. Mike wanted to help improve governance at the center and wasn't happy with how things were going. There was a little bit of bonding. We went on a retreat to Daytona with the board, but he wanted it to be more. And we even had input from National that Don coordinated. We try to educate current and hopefully future board members to understand more about the synagogue workings, the governance, the finances, the schools, how to deal with different personality types on the board. Don't get in the face of somebody that's a little bit standoffish. We are constantly changing. We've got a great committee that gives us input. And as one of the previous graduates, my friend over there, said, who's helping graduates help this year's coordinators, and one of them said, you know, I was in the first class, so we didn't even have Arc Tank. So that's one of our improvements. And there's somebody else that I'm thinking about who said, as a member of the class, I grew up at the center. I've been here all my life, and I learned so much. So Debbie stole my joke. I was going to say that I could make my remarks be a half an hour, you know. But anyway, we look forward to the presentations. A lot of the themes don't have their own fund, like L'Adore Vador. So not only we hope will the class members maybe think that they want to give some extra money to some of these funds, but maybe the rest of the audience as well. Thank you.
One of the things that the Arc Tank's trying to accomplish is to create a semblance of the behaviors that that the committee of JJC Futures thinks is important. And that's really to be a champion or an advocate for certain causes, right? So Jacksonville Jewish Center is all about people coming together and advocating for something that's important to them. And so it's to the actual class and which causes we identify. And Mike was real big on, we want to identify things that don't have a voice all the time. So we obviously have an annual appeal. We have a L'Adore Vador. Those are two of our largest fundraisers that we do year in, year out that raise a lot of money for the Jacksonville Jewish Center. But there's so many other causes that we have that really don't have a pulpit to speak on. So with that, we thought that was one of the key ingredients for Arc Tank. And then also it was very important for us to create a fun activity where we could create some sort of social bonding between our class. Originally, there was a lot of discussion whether we wanted to have it just for the class, like an exclusive element just for our current class members. And we did that for 2 years, and this is our third installation of Arc Tank, right? Third. And we missed a year last year because of COVID, but it's carrying forward to this year. So without further ado, please welcome oh, Gabby. Oh, you go. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to interrupt Arc Tank just for a second because we skipped over something. So Kim is going to come up and make a quick presentation on behalf of Sisterhood. We forgot to do that, sorry.
Okay, sorry about this. Margie Holzer wishes she could be here, but she's at a party that I wasn't invited to. Okay. Every year, Sisterhood donates a sizable amount of money to the center for various causes. And so first, I am pleased to present a check for $3,500 to the Bernard and Alice Sullivan Religious School. And I am pleased to present a check for $4,000. Oh, Debbie, would you like to receive these checks? Yay! Great. Okay, so this first one for the religious school. Yay, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. And $4,000 for the youth department for Setzer Youth. Okay, $5,000 for L'Adore Vador. Right, yes. And for scholarships for Setzer Youth and camp programs, $3,000.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Sisterhood for your ongoing generosity. It's wonderful.
Okay.
And now back to the program. The speakers will now begin their presentations, and when all 4 groups have finished, we will collect your allocation sheets and tally up the results. Chazan will be coming up to speak about the Music Fund.
Good evening. You'll let me know if I can be seen on the live stream. That's very important. Potential donors on the stream. I also was not invited to the birthday party, if it makes you feel better. So yesterday I was driving for about 6 hours back and forth, different places, different parts of Florida. And I was trying to come, there was a song that was playing repeated in my car. Thank you, that's going to be caught in my ear too. 1-800-411-PAIN normally is how I stay in my lane. No, it was Old MacDonald had a farm. He had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. My son, Eitan, loves cows. He loves cows. He loves Old MacDonald Had a Farm. We listened to on repeat for 4 out of the 6.5 hours. A specific version. There's not even other versions. So I was excited about my Kol Nidre. And it made me think, wow, this is the perfect Kickstarter to my campaign for music at the Jacksonville Jewish Center. Over the last year, we've sort of been in this rinse repeats of Zoom. Zoom has been great. Live stream is great, but they're not the same as real life in-person experience. And what we've learned from our surveys, from our strategic plan, is that music often brings us together. Years ago, when I first came here, we would bring musical acts to the synagogue. Our budget wasn't the largest music budget, and so that also was reflective in the attendance. We would get 100 people, maybe 150. And over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, we started getting 300, 400, 500. Many of you have been at many of these concerts that we've done, experiences, Shabbatonim, Nefesh Mountain, where we had 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. I saw a nice kippah that Brent is wearing from the Maccabees. Is that, yeah, okay, exactly. 850 people to that. And thank you to all those who participated in that event. And then we have this year of COVID, where we don't want to be in a room with 850 people. And so we have to ease our way back into that experience. But we know we need it. We know it was the part of our lifeblood of our community. And so we want to get to that moment. And so we're sort of hitting the reset of how do we have in-person experiences. And so over the summer, on July 20th, you can mark your calendars. It's Scott Zimmerman of Blessed Memory's birthday. And often during the summer of the last number of years, we've done music around his birthday. And so I said, that's a great idea. We're going to do a virtual summer showcase. And I'm bringing back some people that we've had over the last couple of years for a virtual night, really hopefully our last musical virtual night, to hear a couple melodies from some of the hottest Jewish music artists that are out there today. So one of them, for example, is Nefesh Mountain that I just mentioned. Donnie is due next Thursday, not next Monday, wherever you went. And so Nefesh will be joining us. Neshama Karlbach will be joining us. She came here 25 years ago. And so for those who might have seen her, she's will be performing. Josh Warshawski, who's big in the camping movement. So any of our kids who go to Camp Ramah will know Josh. We have Joe Buchanan, who is a rockin' Jewish cowboy, will be joining. And so again, trying to get a lot of great artists, and hopefully with your interest and your financial support, that we can start having these musical artists come to Jacksonville once again to celebrate long weekends of learning and singing together and bringing their music to us. And that's the one great thing about this pandemic is in the virtual world, we've been able to learn about some of these great artists that are out there. And so now with your financial support, we can bring them here to Jacksonville for years to come. The Music Fund is not one that gets influx of money every year through an endowment. And so we can always use your funds. And if you attach yourself to an artist and you say, I really want that kind of music or that artist on a regular basis, then come talk to me beyond that. So we'd love your financial support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaz. Next, I'd like to invite Gil Kleiner to come up and talk about the Cemetery Fund.
Chaz, the last part you spoke about, so if we do a joint concert with the Grateful Dead, then we can work together with the cemetery fund? Just throwing that out there. Good evening. Give me 2 seconds. We're going to show a video that was prepared a couple of years ago for one of the early arc tanks by Howie Wolpoff, which was very well done. A lot has taken place since then, but since we can't all go out to the cemetery this evening for a visit, I think it would really, if you haven't been out there, or if you have been out there recently, you'll notice the difference. But still, this, I think, short video clip will really give you a little feel for what we need to do, what we have done. So.
Burials began in the New Center Cemetery in 1954. Over 60 years later, the only remaining plots are in Section 12, with a few scattered in other sections. We've been holding off the selling of plots in the last section, Section 13, until these other plots are sold. However, we have now executed necessary cemetery planning. We have 3 concerns to address. First is the entranceway. All these years we've been turning onto a dirt path before entering the paved cemetery. The dirt has become increasingly difficult to drive on, and the road is breaking away at the gates. We've been unsuccessful in convincing the city that this was their responsibility. It is obviously ours. Second is the lack of parking. We already do not have any place to park, and the only open area is scheduled to be Section 13. Third is the expansion into the second section. Located behind the trees in the creek, this 3.5-acre section will allow us to bury our members through the end of the 21st century. The planners left a path between sections 1 and 2 that the current committee has paved and bridged into the second section back in 2013. The next steps would be to bush hog all the shrubs and growth, remove all current trees, and level and grade the land. We will also need to repair the dirt that eroded during Hurricane Irma, plotting new sections, creating convenient pathways, planting new trees, and to designate a permanent parking area. For these projects, additional funds will be needed to cover the construction costs. The Cemetery Committee takes great pride in maintaining the cemetery and planning for the future of our families. It is important that the work begins soon so we can move into this permanent parking area prior to the opening of Section 13. We ask that you participate in this labor of love, this true mitzvah, and donate your available funds to the future of our cemeteries.
That was great music, by the way.
You like that?
Yeah. If they get moved, it's because of the music, just remember.
Well, you know. So, my name is Gil Kleiner, for those who don't know me. I am chairman of the Jacksonville Jewish Center Cemetery Committee. The cemeteries, well, first of all, I would like to thank the wonderful members of our committee for their hard work. It's a really good group of people who really put in a lot of time and effort. And I'd also like to thank Rose Tincher for her help as staff person. If you have any questions about the lots or if you wish to purchase them, anything, please contact Rose at the office. She is a godsend. She really does know, I hate to say the bad pun, where some of the bodies are buried, but she does know a great deal about this community and everybody involved. So when I have to handle a situation, I can usually call Rose and she knows somebody who is related. So, why are we here tonight? We're here tonight to ask for your support for the cemetery fund and also for some of the made special projects that we're going to be doing. A couple of the projects that Howie talked about in the movie we've already accomplished. We've accomplished the road that goes across the bridge around to the back to section 1 and 2. We've already charted out and are starting to sell in section 13, which also has an interfaith section that the board approved through the committee's recommendation several months ago. We're also in the process right now of re-engaging with the city to try to get that piece of land that is a small patch. If you go into the newer cemetery, that gravel road, the city owns it. The center never purchased it. It was never part of our land, but the city does not want to take responsibility or have, quote, the funding to pave it. So we've put gravel over the course of the years to try to fix it. So, but we still have a lot of work to do. The original cemetery does not have an irrigation system that has worked in over 10 years, needs to be completely replaced. We've just finished a project of doing major tree work in the older cemetery, which was established, as Rabbi said, this is the 120th. The earliest grave we found is about 1904. And we have a new sign that's going to be saying the original Jacksonville Jewish Center original cemetery circa 1904. So we have a lot of upgrades that we still need to do. That irrigation system, the older cemetery does not have grass because without water, you can't grow grass. So that's a major project. We do have someone who is partially committed to possibly funding part of it. But we are still going to need to raise at least $10,000 to do that. So, why are cemeteries important is one of the things I think people really need to know. They instill a sense of time because exploring the headstones will help us understand the vastness of time as we learn more about the history and the history of this community. They connect the generations. Especially I found in the South that many families have ancestors that are buried at the Jacksonville Jewish Cemetery. You go to the cemeteries and you can find generations that go back to the early 1900s. And the generations are still part of this Jacksonville Jewish Center and Jewish community in Jacksonville. So, they connect the generations, they instill a sense of time. As you go back and look, you will see veterans from World War I, veterans from World War II, veterans from the very recent conflicts, and just veterans and other folks that are prominent Jews in this community. They create a community because these holy sites are not maintained by themselves. They provide unique challenges in keeping them safe and beautiful. Anybody in the committee can tell you that. We've done a lot of personal work out there. I've personally planted a couple of bushes a few weeks ago. And I'm not great with a shovel, but thank goodness for Miracle-Gro. And all the gallon jugs that I've saved for hurricane season, I brought filled with water to help do some quick irrigation of some planting. They also have another very important point. They remind us of the value of life. That life can be and can end in an instant, or it can linger on through pain, or you can go peacefully after many years of celebrating a wonderful life. And I don't know about the rest, but I have a better appreciation for life after I visit a cemetery. And I think it's one of the things that it really does help us appreciate, because over the course of time we tend not to. So, we are here tonight, and the center and the cemeteries will be here long after the Jacksonville Jewish Center is gone. They are here for an eternity. We need to make sure that their condition today is brought up to where it should be, and we need to make sure that they will be there for the future. We have lots of work to do, as I've talked about earlier. Our funding sources are from the cemetery fund, lot sales, burials and interments from our $300,000, some interest from our $300,000 endowment. We do not have a line item in the congregation budget. So when we run out of selling lots, and there are no more lots to sell, and there are no more funerals to be had, we will not have a source of income rather than the endowment. And our endowment, in order to be able to fund those maintenance issues of the future, needs to be 1.5 or $1 to $1.5 million. And we'll guesstimate at that time it'll provide about $50,000 a year, and when we reach that goal. So every time we take out from the interest of our endowment to do some work that we need to do, it is not growing as much as it should. So that is one of the reasons we are here tonight. So remember, after the Jacksonville Jewish Center is gone, the cemeteries will still be here for an eternity. It is up to you and me to make sure that they remain as holy sites for generations to come. Thank you again for your time. And of course, go to the second box. Not that they're all not worthy, but the second box right here is very worthy. Support the cemeteries, and remember that they're past, and also that they will help protect our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gil. Now I'd like to introduce Jennifer Smith and Kim Glaskell to come talk about our third project, which involves communications and IT. And they will, while they're up here, they're also going to talk about our fourth project on behalf of Sisterhood, which involves ground and building beautification.
Right. Okay, we're doing the,
Technology first?
no, we're doing the technology first, or?
Whichever.
I can't remember. Oh, no, we're doing,
Beautification
yes,
first?
yes,
Okay.
okay.
We didn't have a whole lot of time to rehearse.
Hello, sharks and guest sharks. My name is Kim Glaskell. I am a 2017 graduate of JJC Futures, and this is Jennifer Smith, the executive director, and we are here to offer you the opportunity to invest $12,000 to own 100% of the walls in the Bessie Setzer Frisch Room.
Right?
Okay, so Jennifer, please tell us why we want to do this project.
So, as everyone knows, Bessie Setzer Frisch is used for a lot of things. It's where we have our meetings and our classes and our dinners, and the walls are peeling. If you look at the dividers, those are starting to peel, the vinyl is peeling off, and so this is a space that we use for bar mitzvah dinners and all sorts of other things.
Oh my gosh, so many things. We have
Yes.
like Friday night musical services there. We have board meetings there. We have sisterhood board meetings there. We have youth is sometimes around there. There's so much stuff going on there that, and also, I don't know if you know, it has 3 other names because it can divide up into 3 different rooms. So you can have 3 things going on at once.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yes.
And now, like, the maintenance people, they're probably struggling.
Yeah, the walls need some love, not just with the peeling wallpaper, but they sometimes struggle to open and close them. So there needs to be a little bit of maintenance across the top so that the doors actually shut all the way.
Yeah, that's important, yes. So because of COVID, people probably haven't noticed this, but trust us, it needs help. So Sisterhood has already started raising money for this cause, and we would love for you guys to join in, and sources of funding are us. Okay, there's no other source of funding. Sisterhood just members the synagogue, and so as you heard earlier, there have been a lot of expenses. So So please consider this and help our maintenance people not have to struggle. Okay, anything else that you want to say about that?
I don't think so. We're super excited to, and we are going to do this in a way that is cost effective. We're going to probably have like some sort of wallpaper peeling party.
Oh, yes.
Where people might want to, get some stress out.
Ooh.
And then, we'll have it put on professionally, don't worry.
Yeah.
But coming off, we could probably, entice some of our youth group folks who might enjoy the opportunity.
That's a great idea.
Engaged with this project.
That's right. That's a great idea, but we can't do it unless we have the money.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so think of the youth. Come on, think of the youth. Are there naming opportunities? Could we have like the Smith panel?
We haven't thought about that.
Yeah, I just thought of that just now. We didn't practice this or rehearse or anything. This is all, yeah.
We're just excited
yes.
about being able to then showcase the space as we're reopening and getting people back in there. No one's used it in a long time, so it's missing people, and so we're excited to be able to start utilizing that space again.
Right.
As we get to the fall, we'll have this year. We have one or two, or how many youth conventions are going to be using that space?
Wow.
2 youth conventions.
Wow.
Along with hopefully eventually Friday night services back in that space. We have to fix the internet first, then we'll get Friday night back in there.
Oh, no. What's wrong with the internet?
It's just a Wi-Fi thing. It's easy.
Yeah, okay,
we just
okay.
haven't been able to use it yet.
Okay.
So
great.
we're focusing on walls, and so we want to make it beautiful for our youth and for our services to be back in there this fall.
Great. And speaking of having meetings in those rooms, if you have participated in any of the live streams or any other Zoom meetings that are hybrid, like something that takes place in person, like the board meeting that we had that was hybrid, it was really hard for people in the meeting to hear me or for me to hear other people. I wasn't the only one, though. And I imagine we will have some hybrid things. Okay, is there anything that can be done to make it easier?
Yes, so because of this world of Zoom, there have been a lot more technologies that have come out for those in conference rooms. So the newest one we're going to get is called the Meeting Owl, and it actually looks like a little owl, and when you speak, it turns its head to whoever's talking, and the microphone can pick up from 18 feet away, which our cute little conference camera, which is right here, this does not pick up from 18 feet away. So when we're sitting in the room with a social hall, so we here can be socially distant, everyone who's on the hybrid is at home cannot hear. So so in order to be able to do hybrid, because we know that not everyone is going to feel comfortable coming back into the building. We also know that sometimes it's really hard, especially if you have young children, to come back at 7:30 at night for a class. So this allows us to meet our congregation where they are, which is part of Sulam, and allow them to really interact in a better way, where they can see who's actually speaking, they can hear clearly what's going on in the room, and it looks really cute inside the room because it looks like a little owl. So our ask is for 2, so that we could have multiple things going on. There might be a class at the same time that there's a meeting. And so
that is $2,000. It's $1,000 per owl.
Per owl. And if you want to see what they look like, my computer isn't awake anymore. So Meeting Owl, if you look up Meeting Owl, that's where you can see it online.
It's really cool. What?
Can you name the owl? I would be more than happy to put a plaque on the bottom of an owl for anyone who purchases one.
So did anyone see Too Hot to Handle, that show? And the little, they had a little spy in the room all the time. The Meeting Owl looks like that. The little, Tracy's laughing. Maybe Tracy's the only one who saw it. My daughter made me watch it. And but it's cute like that. and it turns.
You're right. So as you speak, it turns to whoever's speaking, so you can actually look at the person who's talking, instead of sometimes you hear just that voice in the background with no face, depending on if they're in the view of the camera or not. So something I'm a little bit too excited about, I have to admit, but I am.
It's super cool. So if you want to give to the owl, that's under technology and communication, because it's really both. And if you want to give to the wall, then that's under beautification. And of course, you can give to both or all four. Thank you very much.
And
sorry.
I just wanted to say, going back a little bit to the first one, Haas didn't give y'all a number of like what these musicians cost. We've all been talking about numbers.
Okay, she's finished now. Okay.
Haas, could you please come up and talk about your numbers? I have to be fair. I want them all to win.
That's true.
So.
We want them all to win. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
I was playing Jeopardy theme song for Gil. Yes, when we did this a couple years ago, we had like a 2-minute limit, so I just assumed that we had 2 minutes, which was a big assumption. Anyways, as I mentioned earlier, very quickly, just to have a sense of what these things cost, we've also made a point the last number of years to not only bring in groups and whatever their fee is, but also marketing and sound and lighting and all that kind of stuff. So, for example, someone was like, "Oh, let's bring in Nefesh Mountain." They were 5,000 or something like that. They were somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000 to bring them in for a Shabbat, a whole experience. They did 3-4 experiences over a weekend, which is great. Then you fly in the whole band. Then you put the band up in a hotel. Then you pay a couple $1,000s for lighting. So the whole thing becomes $17,000. People were not charged $500 at the door. So a lot of our outside funding that we get from people who are interested in music helps subsidize. So when we charge $20 or $10, that's a reasonable amount and get people through the door. That's what we want, people in here, but we need that capital to help lower the costs. So especially when we're trying to think of multiple artists every year, just think of that in terms of how much money it might cost us every year to bring in musical acts. So thank you, Jennifer, for that. And thank you to all the other presenters. Are you doing a tally or something? Or? Okay, come on up.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Now that the presentations are finished, I'd like to take a couple minutes for the members of the current JJC Futures class and anyone else in the audience who would like to participate to fill out their sheets. And then when you're done, if you could just raise your hand so that we can know to come around and collect it, so we can get it to Brent and he can start tallying up the votes. Yes. There are sheets floating around that contribution sheets for the people who are not in the class.
And so the first $100 is matched 2 to 1. So your $100 becomes $300. If you give more than $100, which we are happy to take, that rest of it is just matched 1 to 1. It's a little bit confusing. So if you're not in the class, that's how it's going to work. Also, if you want it charged to your account or a credit card on file, you can write that on there and we'll take care of that. Or if you want to write a check, you can make it out to Jennifer Smith or Tracy Hilbert. I'm kidding. Jacksonville Jewish Center. Yes, so if you give 50 and you're not part of a class, it will turn into 150. So you don't have to give 100, you can give less than 100. We'll be happy with whatever we get. We need to play some music because we're bored. I don't know.
While Brent is tallying up the votes, I wanted to give the current class a few minutes for an opportunity for reflection. Please think about your experience this year. What did you enjoy the most? What did you feel that you learned? Just think about it for a minute, and if anybody would like to say something about their experience this year, just raise your hand. Don't make me call on someone. No one would like to volunteer? Okay. I'm going to pick on somebody. I'm going to pick on Nancy Davis. Sorry.
Yes, hold on. We have a question from the pews here. Nancy Davis, you have a comment? Ask the host.
I found the class really interesting and helpful because there are just so many considerations to running a facility of this size, the history behind the facility of this size, where things started, where we are now. There's just so many considerations that sitting in services on a Shabbat morning you don't have to think about. And there are lots and lots of people behind the scenes thinking about all those things and working really hard to make this place as amazing as it is. And it was just eye-opening and enlightening and helpful and all those adjectives.
Thank you, Nancy, for letting me pick on you.
Thank you very much.
Does anybody else want to say anything? Or I'm going to pick somebody else. Okay, I'm going to pick on Jeremy Milrod. I warned you. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the JJC Futures, that wasn't hurricane relief, was it? Okay, cool. So, I was voluntold to join the JJC Futures. And so I enjoyed the JJC Futures a lot. I learned a lot about the history of the Jacksonville Jewish Center, things that I didn't know. Got to meet some people who I had seen around the center before, but never was really involved with. And that was exciting because, you know, sometimes you come and go to the center, you go to services and things like that, but actually being able to connect with some of the people who I saw and people who were going to be involved long-term with the center was something good and exciting. And it makes you feel more part of the center itself and part and invested in the future of the center. So I enjoyed it. It was a great experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Would anyone else like to say anything? I'll pick again. How about you, Howie? No? Okay. Larry?
Unfortunately, the class was a bit abbreviated this year, and so I think we missed the last couple sessions. And unfortunately, for other obligations, I missed one or two before that. But I think it was interesting, particularly the budgetary session that I went to. It's always interesting to see how money is distributed and how the finances of the synagogue work. I've been around here for a long time, and you know, money is always either on the table or not on the table, and it's always interesting to see where money comes from and how it's distributed. So that part I found fascinating.
Thanks, Larry.
I have a question. Am I allowed to ask a question? So when I was in JJC Futures, I felt like the group gelled. But with COVID, did you guys all feel like you gelled? Does anyone want to talk about that? And if you didn't, you just have to repeat again next year, okay?
You want to say something?
I just want to say that Mike Mass did a tremendous job in the years that I worked with him on getting the program together. And being at every committee meeting that he held, even when he wasn't feeling well, he really put his heart and soul into it and always had suggestions and ideas to make it work better. And this really, without Mike, this program would have never happened and would not have grown to what it has been today, which is an incredible way to create leadership of the future. Because having seen and having worked in synagogue life, one of the biggest challenges is having people that have the passion. And that passion doesn't come by magic. You have to learn it. You have to learn the history. You have to learn how the system operates. You have to learn the politics of the synagogue, the society of the synagogue. And Mike really, really understood that. And he really wanted to make the classes, that the people that took the classes to understand that. And he did a wonderful job. So I think, I just wanted to say that because I really think that needs to be said.
Thank you, Gil. You want to talk, Dave?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Gil just said, but in addition, as chairman of the board, one of my responsibilities was to help with our committee create the next board. And the JJC Futures becomes that feeder group to help us build that board. All of those that take the class, they learn a lot, they get engaged, they're passionate, and having them as part of the next leadership is a big deal for building that board. So as we build it out, and we're looking for young new leaders, we're looking for people that have been around for a long time, some with young kids, some with no kids, some that are a little bit older than me. But we try and have a really nice mix of people. And what's beautiful with the JJC Futures is that it's not just young people involved. It could be of anybody of any age that may just want to learn about their synagogue that they haven't really known as much of. So while we find engagement maybe with the youth or maybe with various different committees or groups within the synagogue, we may not know all the integral parts of this business. And it is a business in a lot of degrees, but it's also a community. And as we create our JJC Futures group, it becomes a little small community in itself. And you'll find that they become your friends for life as well. So I appreciate all that that Mike Mass and the Mass family did to put this on, along with Tricia Bloom and Brent Traeger and others on the committee that have done such a great job. Steve Mizrahi as well. Really thank everybody for doing what they've done.
Would anyone else like to share anything? Please.
I forgot to say how, is it on? I forgot to say how our sons were also involved, or are also involved. Ellis teaches the workshop about the personality types, and it's been a big hit. Mike didn't push it on people, but people asked for it to be repeated year after year. And then the other thing is the class members will be getting a pin that says JJC Futures on it, and our other son, Otis, is the one who designed the pin.
Thanks to everyone's generosity, it's taking Brent longer than we thought to tabulate the results, which is wonderful. So I would like to invite everybody to go to the dessert reception and then if they would like to come back in to hear the final tally afterwards. And then we can continue.